Hello and welcome back to Voice of Wisdom. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that some of the happiest, most self-reliant seniors are those who live alone? For a long time, we've been told to be afraid of that. What if you fall? What if you feel lonely? Those fears only grow louder with age. Somehow, living alone in your later years has been made to sound like a problem, a risk. But here's what no one talks about. For many older adults, living alone isn't a burden at all. It's a blessing. In fact, it's often the beginning of a more peaceful, empowered chapter of life. In today's video, we're going to explore 7 surprising ways living alone can actually bring you more freedom, peace, joy, and a stronger sense of self than you've felt in years. This video isn't about denying loneliness. It's about redefining solitude. When approached with purpose, living alone can become a source of deep inner strength, something that supports your healing and growth. So, I invite you to stick around until the end. Because this isn't just a conversation about being by yourself. It's a discovery of how living alone might be the most meaningful gift you give to yourself in this stage of life. Whether you're already living solo and wondering what comes next, or you're just thinking about what your future might hold, this video will offer comfort, clarity, and a refreshing new perspective. Let's get started. Number 1. Full control over your space and time. When you live alone, you regain something many people don't even realize they've lost: complete control over your space and your time. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, your day is fully yours. No compromises, no negotiations, no one else's schedule to bend around. That kind of freedom might sound simple, but after years, sometimes decades, of caregiving, accommodating others, or managing a household full of people, it becomes something rare and precious. You decide when to eat, when to rest, when to clean or not clean. You arrange your living room how you like it, keep your bedroom at the temperature that feels right for you, and play the music you want, as loud or as soft as you prefer. You choose your pace. And when the world outside feels unpredictable, having that kind of autonomy within your own walls becomes a quiet source of strength. I remember a man named Charles, 81, who had lived with his daughter and son-in-law for 5 years. Though they loved each other, he always felt like a guest in his own life. He couldn't cook what he wanted, watch his shows without feeling like he was bothering someone, or even keep his room the way he liked it. When he moved into his own small apartment, his daughter worried. But after a few weeks he told her, "It's the first time in years I felt like myself." That kind of self-possession, being able to make decisions without deferring to someone else, brings back a sense of dignity. It reminds you that aging doesn't mean giving up the right to choose. In fact, living alone in later life can feel like reclaiming your rhythm after years of adjusting to others. Of course, there will be times when support is needed. That's part of being human. But when the default setting of your day is your own voice, your own values, your own choices, you begin to feel more rooted, more present, more alive. And in a world that often rushes older people into shared housing or assumes they can't manage on their own, choosing to live alone becomes a quiet declaration: I know who I am, I know how I live, and I trust myself to do it well. Number 2. Solitude creates space for self-awareness and peace. There's a kind of stillness that only solitude can offer. And it's in that stillness that many older adults discover something they never expected: peace. When the house is quiet and the schedule is your own, something powerful begins to happen. Your thoughts settle, your emotions rise gently to the surface. And in the quiet, you begin to hear yourself more clearly. Living alone doesn't automatically mean being lonely. In fact, solitude can be one of the richest emotional environments you'll ever live in, if you approach it with openness instead of fear. Without the constant hum of someone else's voice or presence, you start to reconnect with what matters to you: your memories, your regrets, your hopes. even now. And that reflection doesn't weaken you. It grounds you. I once met a woman named Florence, 84, who had lived most of her life surrounded by family, kids, grandkids, neighbourhood gatherings. Her house had always been full, but when her youngest son moved out and she found herself living alone for the first time in decades, she panicked. "I didn't know who I was without someone else around," she told me. But within 6 months, she'd started journaling, walking in nature, and even meditating, a practice she used to scoff at. "I've met parts of myself I never knew were there," she said, "and I like who I'm meeting." That's the quiet power of living alone. It strips away the noise and forces you to sit with yourself, not in punishment, but in possibility. You learn to self-soothe, to entertain yourself, to listen deeply to your body, your memories, your spirit. And in that listening, you often find healing. That was never possible when life was filled with distraction. This isn't to say every moment will feel like a movie scene. Some days will be heavy, others will be light, but all of them will be yours. And when you begin to feel safe in your own company, the fear of being alone starts to lose its grip, because you realize you are not empty, you are not forgotten, you are not lost, you are here. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Number 3, relationships become intentional and more meaningful. One of the overlooked benefits of living alone is how it reshapes your relationships. When no one else lives under your roof, the connections you maintain become deeply intentional. You're not surrounded by people out of habit or proximity. You reach out because you want to, and others do the same. That shift can lead to a kind of authenticity that many people don't experience until later in life. When you're on your own, you get to choose your social energy. You get to decide when to rest, when to engage, and who to spend time with. There's no obligation to entertain or respond to someone just because they're in the next room. And that space allows you to be more present when you do connect. You listen more. You share more. You speak not out of duty, but from the heart. I once knew a man named Everett, 83, who had spent most of his adult life in a noisy, full household. After his wife passed and his children moved away, he found himself living alone for the first time in 50 years. At first he dreaded it, but as time passed, he began calling old friends just to catch up. He joined a small group at the library. He sent handwritten letters to his grandchildren. Funny thing, he told me one day, "I'm alone more, but I feel more connected than I have in years." That's the power of intentional connection. You stop going through the motions. You stop socializing out of convenience. Instead, you start nurturing relationships that feed your soul. Whether it's with an old friend, a neighbor, or someone you meet at the senior center, each interaction holds more weight because it's your choice. And that choice matters. It builds confidence. It reminds you that even though you live alone, you're not isolated. You're engaged. You're participating. You're building a social life based on value, not obligation. So if you're worried that living alone means you'll be forgotten or left out, consider this. It may actually bring you closer to the people who truly matter. Because when connection becomes a conscious act, it becomes something deeper, richer, and more lasting than anything forced by routine. Number 4, your routines stay entirely yours. One of the most liberating parts of living alone in older age is the ability to live by your own natural rhythm. When no one else shares your space, there's no need to coordinate meal times, adjust the thermostat to someone else's comfort, or keep quiet in the early morning out of courtesy. Instead, you get to move through your day based on how your body feels, your energy, your appetite, your mood. There's something healing about that kind of alignment. You're no longer shaped by someone else's habits or preferences. You wake when you're rested. You eat when you're hungry. You rest when you feel tired. And in doing so, you begin to listen more deeply to your own body, a skill many people lose over decades of prioritizing others. I knew a woman named Jean, 79, who had lived most of her adult life adjusting to her husband's night owl routine. Dinner was always late. The TV was on at all hours. She never realized how much it affected her sleep and energy until she found herself living alone for the first time. Within a few months, she naturally began rising with the sun, walking before breakfast, and going to bed by 9 o'clock. "I feel 10 years younger," she said. "Turns out I was always a morning person. I just never had a chance to live like one." That's what living alone gives you, a return to your own rhythm. It may seem like a small thing, but it brings enormous peace. You don't have to explain your habits. You don't have to accommodate someone else's pace. You simply live as you are, when you are. And that steadiness helps everything else fall into place. Your digestion, your sleep, your mood, even your sense of purpose. When you honor your own timing, you're more in tune with life. You stop rushing. You stop suppressing. You stop bending out of shape just to keep the peace. And instead, you start living in a way that makes peace from within. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 5. Freedom from difficult family dynamics. Living alone in old age can offer something many don't expect: emotional relief. As we age, some seniors find themselves living with adult children, in-laws, or extended family members, often out of necessity or cultural expectation. And while some of those arrangements are warm and supportive, others are tense, draining, or even quietly painful. When you live under someone else's roof or have others living under yours, you give up a certain emotional freedom. You might hold your tongue to keep the peace. You might feel like a guest in your own home. You may feel like you're constantly being monitored or managed, even with good intentions. That stress builds over time, wearing down your confidence and your sense of self. I remember a man named Henry, 82, who moved in with his daughter and her family after a hospital stay. They all meant well, but he told me, "I felt like I was on someone else's schedule. Every movement felt like I had to ask permission. I wasn't sick anymore, but I wasn't free either." Eventually, he moved into a small apartment nearby. And though he had fewer physical comforts, he said he finally felt at ease again. That ease is important. Emotional safety matters just as much as physical safety. And sometimes the best thing you can do for your health is to create space from the stress that comes with constant negotiation, unspoken resentment, or feeling like a burden. Living alone removes the background noise of emotional tension. You don't have to walk on eggshells. You don't have to navigate complicated family dynamics every day. And while solitude doesn't erase all challenges, it does remove one big one: the pressure to constantly manage relationships under your own roof. That space allows you to reconnect with your own values. You begin to trust your instincts again. You stop doubting every choice just because someone else might disapprove. And in that space, peace grows, not because everything is perfect, but because the atmosphere around you finally lets your mind and heart rest. Number 6. Increased resilience and confidence. Living alone in later life often brings with it a surprising benefit: resilience. When you take on everyday life without relying on someone else under the same roof, you begin to build a deeper trust in your own ability to manage, adapt, and thrive. Tasks that once seemed daunting, changing a light bulb, managing a bill, or handling an unexpected repair, become quiet affirmations. I can still do this. That confidence doesn't come all at once. It builds with each small success. And the more you lean into your independence, the stronger you feel, not just physically, but emotionally. You begin to realize that your age doesn't define your capability. You may move slower or need to plan differently, but you are still capable, still in charge, still writing your story. I once spoke with a woman named Lorraine, 85, who had never lived alone until her husband passed. She was terrified. For the first time, she had to handle the finances, talk to repairmen, and manage medications by herself. But within a year, something shifted. She began keeping a notebook of every task she completed, no matter how small. "I wanted to prove to myself I could do it," she said. That notebook became a journal of victories, and every entry reminded her that she was more than her fear. That's what happens when you live alone with intention. You grow stronger, not because life gets easier, but because you get clear about who you are and what you're still capable of. You stop waiting for someone else to fix it. You stop doubting your instincts. And in doing so, you build a kind of self-assurance that many people spend their entire lives chasing. It's not about never needing help. It's about not needing permission. It's about meeting each day as it is and knowing that you're still equipped to handle it. That kind of resilience is a quiet kind of power. And when you live alone, it shows up in the way you speak, move, and see yourself. Not as someone who's just getting by, but as someone still living with strength and purpose. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 7. Rediscovery of forgotten passions and interests. Living alone doesn't just give you peace. It gives you room to rediscover who you were before the world got so loud. When the house is quiet and the schedule is yours, you may find that long-forgotten passions begin to resurface. Old hobbies, creative projects, simple joys that got buried under years of work, caregiving, or compromise. And now, with time and space, they quietly call you back. Many older adults are surprised to find that living alone sparks curiosity again. Without someone else to fill the hours, you start filling them yourself. But this time, not out of obligation, out of desire. Maybe it's painting, gardening, journaling, or playing music. Maybe it's something you never tried before because there was always someone else's need to meet first. I once met a man named Ralph, 80, who spent most of his adult life running a hardware store. After retiring and losing his wife, he found himself completely alone and unsure what to do with the silence. One day, he picked up a set of watercolor paints his granddaughter had left behind. Within months, he was painting every morning. "I didn't even know I liked this," he said. "But now it's how I start my day, with color." That kind of discovery isn't just therapeutic, it's transformative. It reminds you that you are still growing, still learning, still capable of joy and surprise. And it's often living alone that makes that space possible, because when no one else is setting the tone of your day, you finally have the freedom to follow your own spark. And it's not just about productivity. Sometimes it's about finding comfort in the little things, re-watching your favorite movies, rereading the books that shaped you, or cooking that one meal only you know how to make just right. These are quiet rituals of self-love, and they deepen your sense of identity, reminding you that you're not just passing time, you're making meaning. When you live alone, your days become a canvas, and you get to choose the colors. And in doing so, you rediscover not just what you love, but who you are when no one else is watching. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this video, I want to leave you with one simple truth. Living alone in old age is not something to fear. It's something to understand, embrace, and in many cases, cherish. Because the real question isn't whether you live with others, it's whether you're living fully. And when you take back your time, your space, your rhythm and your voice, life begins to feel like it's truly yours again. We've walked through 7 powerful reasons why living alone might be one of the most liberating decisions you ever make. From rediscovering forgotten passions to regaining confidence and peace, each reason is a reminder that solitude is not emptiness, it's space. And space is where growth, healing, and self-respect often begin. If you're currently living alone and questioning whether it's the right path, I hope you now see that you're not behind. You're not broken. You're not missing anything. You're simply in a different season of life, one that comes with its own kind of beauty, strength, and wisdom. And if you're considering living alone but fear the unknown, I hope you now know that it's not isolation that waits for you, it's potential. You are not too old to begin again. You are not too late to feel peace. And you are certainly not too alone to live meaningfully. Every day you choose to show up for yourself, to care, to reflect, to grow, is a day you're choosing life. Not just survival, but life with dignity, freedom, and purpose. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today, here on Voice of Wisdom. We'd truly love to hear from you, so please scroll down and share one thing that stood out to you from this video. How did it speak to you? How might you apply it in your own life? Your thoughts really matter to us, and reading your comments brings us encouragement and inspiration. If this video helped you in any way, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit too. Your support means everything. It's what allows us to keep creating meaningful content to uplift and empower you. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay safe, stay inspired, and we'll see you in the next video, right here on Voice of Wisdom.